Hello everyone, this time I will introduce the operation instructions for the security policy. This session will mainly focus on the incoming part. Let's get started. Here we will first explain the settings for the incoming rules. The upper part is the basic settings, which are the required fields. Policy name allow administrators to customize names. Source interface. This item is used to define the source interface. Network address translation. This item has mapped IP and mapped port and a server load balance mode. Protocol. You can choose the protocol like TCP, UDP, ICMP, any. Source. To define the source IP address or subnet for the rule. Destination. To define the destination IP address or subnet for the rule. SRC service group. To define the source port. If you keep to user defined, it means any port can be allowed. Usually, we keep this setting to user defined and do not specify a source port because the source port is random when we build a connection. DST service group. To define the destination port, if you keep to user defined, it means any port can be allowed. NAT. A NAT does it need to be transferred to an internal IP address, then connect with the server. Action. To define this rule is permit or drop. In the previous slide, has mapped IP and a mapped port on network address translation. What is mapped IP and mapped port? Is there any differences between them? Mapped IP only can map to one internal IP address, but cannot transfer port. Mapped port, it can map to multiple internal IP addresses, and it can transfer port. To see the mapped IP, one rule only accepts one internal IP address, and the service to be mapped should be on the same port, which means external port 443 to internal port 443. And please see mapped port. One rule can accept multiple IP addresses, and it can transfer port. For example, we can transfer external service at 443 port to internal service 443 port. Therefore, also the mapped port setting seems a little more complicated than the mapped IP setting. It can also do port transfer. That cannot be done by the mapped IP. The below is incoming setup steps. The first 4 steps is the basic setting for security policy, and this part must be configured. The step 5, policy, is optional field. It allows administrators to decide whether to apply controls objects to the rules, such as bandwidth control or application control. Even if no control objects are applied, the rule will still be effective. Step 6 is the firewall protection settings. This is where you check whether to enable the firewall protection feature. it is optional too, and the rule will still be effective even the protection feature is not enabled. Here is incoming setup instructions. Left side is mapped IP and the right side is mapped port. The first step is name it and select the source interface. The second step is select mapped IP or mapped port. If you need to transfer the port, please select mapped port. When you select mapped port, the port is set in edit, but the mapped IP is set in destination service group below. The IP we filled in the second step is an internal IP address, which is a private IP address. The third step is set the source and the destination IP and the port. The source, you can decide whether to limit it according to your needs. If you don't want to limit it, just keep it as any. The destination is typically set to unused external IP address. The source service group, generally there is no need to set it, just keep it user-defined. The destination service group only needs to be set when you use mapped IP. When using mapped port, it has been set in the second step, so it will be grayed out and cannot be set. Step 4 is this packet permit or denied. Step 5, if you click on policy, these options will expand below. These are control items, and you can choose whether to operate them. Step 6, if you click on firewall protection, it will explain the firewall protection options below, allowing you to choose whether to enable the protection. Next, there will be a demonstration of the incoming settings. The status is I have one LAN and one WAN1. There are two subnets on my LAN. The first one is .1.0/24. The other is 88.88.0/24. And my WAN1, I have two external IP addresses. The first one is 186.87 and 186.86. The requirements are these. If there is a conflict between these three requirements, how can we adjust the settings? Well, there is a conflict between the first requirement and the second requirement. Both then want to use 186.86 to open the HTTPS service. Later, I will demonstrate the setting to avoid it. The first requirement is internal web server 1.200 need to use the external IP address 186.86 to open HTTP and HTTPS to the internet. The first step is name it and select the source interface. The second step is selecting mapped IP. Here you can key in the private IP. The third step is set the source and the destination IP address. For the destination IP field, please set the external IP address to 1x6.x6 here. The destination ports group can be selected from the drop-down menu, or the required port can be set in the object service to a group. I choose the HTTP plus HTTPS service group I created. Step 4. Permit the packets to pass. When you finish the setting, it will show like this. The source interface will be WAN1, which is Zone 1. The destination network is 1x6.x6. Here is the same. The destination port will display the HTTP and the HTTPS group. Step 1 to 4 have all been set. Step 5 and 6 have not been applied. So I want to connect. I can key in with HTTP or HTTPS. Then I can connect to the port 80 and 443 of 1.200. The second requirement is that the webcam 1.150 needs to use external IP address 1x6x6 to open HTTPS to the internet. The first step is name it and select a source interface. In the second step, we choose the mapped port. Because the second requirement conflicts with the port of the first requirement, the HTTPS 443 of the external IP 1x6.x6 has already been assigned to the internal IP 1.200. So we need to use port transfer to open the HTTPS of 1.150. This time I use 1x443 to map to 443. The third step is the source IP is not limited, but the destination IP address needs to be selected as the mapped external IP address. The steps for the destination port are set together in step 2. So this site will be grayed out and cannot be selected. Step 4 permits this type of packets. So it will show like this. Only step 1 to 4 are used in the setting steps. Compared with the first rule, it lacks the destination port because it is set using mapped port. If you want to confirm which port mapped to it, you can point the mouse pointer to EST and it will display like this. Once this is set up, it means I can use HTTPS 1x443 to connect to the 443 port of internal IP address 1.150. The third requirement is that the host 1.100 management GUID is 9001 port. It must use the external IP address 1xx.s7 to open and restrict the connection, and only 1.2.3.4 can be connected to it. The first step is name it and select the source interface. The second step is use mapped IP method here. If you want to use mapped port to set it, it is also possible. The third step is the source IP address. Because the requirement is to limit the connection, only 1.2.3.4 can be connected, so we need to set it here, 1.2.3.4. The destination IP address needs to be selected as the mapped external IP. So it's 1xx.s7, and the destination port is 9001 port. Step 4 permits this type of packets, and it will show like this. Only step 1 to 4 are used in the setting step, and you can see the restriction 1.2.3.4 in the source network, like this. Then we have questions is that if all the requirements are to be met, how should I set them so that there are no conflicts? We have built rules for each requirement in the previous step. When setting, we must pay attention to ensure that all three rules can meet the requirements. Actually, the first and the second point among these requirements are conflicts. Both requirements require the use the external 1xx.s6 IP to map to the internal 443 settings in order to ensure that all requirements can be met. For the second requirement, I choose to mapped port method and map the external port 18443 to the internal port 443, so that both requirement 1 and requirement 2 can be met. Next, if you have encountered conflicting rules, you can pay attention to the order. Maybe you can adjust the order to complete. The above is an instructions to the operation instructions of incoming security policy. Thanks for your listening.